Claire Matthews never thought her life would take such a turn when she left her hometown of Dayton, Ohio, to work as a maid at the Whitmore estate. Her parents had passed years ago, and she had been the one supporting her younger brother, Michael, through college. She wasn't ashamed of hard work, but working at a mansion as large as Daniel Whitmore's seemed more like stepping into someone else's life than her own. The estate was a place most people only saw in magazines. Grand halls, polished marble floors, chandeliers that glittered even when the sun streamed through the tall windows. Claire had grown used to scrubbing tiny kitchens and folding laundry in cramped apartments, but here every corner told the story of wealth and power. Daniel Whitmore himself was a man people in town spoke about in hushed, respectful tones. He had built his fortune in real estate and investments, and though his success brought him admiration, it also brought a loneliness no one dared mention. His wife, Caroline, had passed away 4 years earlier, leaving him to raise their daughter, Lily, alone. When Claire first met him, she wasn't sure what to expect. He was tall, with a quiet, commanding presence. His dark hair had streaks of gray at the temples, but instead of making him look older, it gave him an air of distinction. He carried himself like a man who had seen too much loss but still had to keep moving. Claire assumed her role in his house would be simple: cleaning rooms, folding laundry, polishing silverware, and keeping the mansion spotless. She thought she'd hardly see him, that their lives wouldn't overlap much. But she was wrong. Their first true interaction happened in the library. Claire was dusting the upper shelves, balanced precariously on a small step stool, when she suddenly felt herself slipping. Before she could fall, a steady hand caught the stool. Daniel stood there, a glass of wine in one hand, the other keeping her from tumbling. "Careful," he said in a voice both calm and firm. Claire's face flushed. She stepped down quickly, brushing dust off her apron. "Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. I didn't hear you come in." "Daniel," he corrected gently. "And you don't need to push yourself so late. The books have waited years. They can wait another day." That moment stayed with her long after. He had been kind, not condescending. From then on, Daniel made small efforts to speak with her. Sometimes it was asking how she liked the job. Sometimes it was about the weather. Other times he lingered longer, asking about her brother or what she read in her spare time. At first, Claire hesitated to share. He was her boss. It wasn't professional to talk too much about her personal life. But Daniel had a way of listening, really listening, that made her feel like her words mattered. Soon, she found herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected. Over time, their conversations became the highlight of her days. She began to notice the little things: how his expression softened when he talked about Lily, how his eyes held shadows when the conversation drifted toward the past. And she noticed the subtle ways he cared for her. A book left on the desk he thought she'd like, a small bouquet of flowers left in the staff quarters with a note that read, "For all your hard work, D." But it wasn't just Daniel who warmed to Claire. Lily, a bright 12-year-old with her mother's gentle smile, grew attached to her too. One rainy afternoon, Lily came home upset after an argument at school. Claire found her in the kitchen, tears rolling down her cheeks. Kneeling beside her, Claire told her stories from her own childhood, about how she too had felt left out and how those moments never defined who she truly was. Lily laughed through her tears, comforted. When Daniel walked in and saw them, something shifted in his expression. He leaned against the doorway silently, watching Claire ease his daughter's pain. Later that night, after Lily was in bed, he found Claire on the garden terrace. "You're good with her," he said quietly. Claire turned, startled. "I just wanted to help. She reminds me a little of myself at her age." "You've done more than help," Daniel admitted. His voice carried a weight she hadn't heard before. "You've brought something into this house we lost a long time ago. Warmth." Her heart raced, unsure what to say. She dropped her gaze, murmuring, "I only try to do my job." Daniel stepped closer, his tone softer now. "Claire, it's more than that." In that instant, a silence stretched between them, thick, unspoken, filled with truths neither dared to voice. For weeks after, they tiptoed around it, careful not to let their growing connection show. Yet their stolen glances, the lingering touches when passing a dish or a book, betrayed them. The mansion became a world within itself, where reality blurred with longing. In the mornings, Claire polished the banisters and folded the linens, all while replaying the way Daniel's eyes had lingered on her the night before. At dinners, when she served Lily and him, she felt his gaze like a warmth on her skin. One evening, while Claire arranged fresh flowers in the parlor, Daniel entered quietly. She didn't notice him until he was close enough to reach out and take the shears from her hand. Their fingers brushed and she froze. "Claire," he whispered, his voice strained, as though he had been holding back for months. Whatever this is between us, I can't ignore it anymore." Her breath caught. She wanted to deny it, to pretend it was only her imagination, but the truth was too heavy to hide. "Neither can I," she admitted, her voice trembling. Daniel stepped closer, his hand hovering near hers, hesitant. "But it's complicated. People would talk. I worry about Lily, about what she would think." "I know," Claire whispered. "And I worry about losing this job. I can't afford to, not with Michael still in school." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the weight of responsibility pulling against the pull of their hearts. But then Daniel gently took her hand, not forceful, not demanding, just a quiet acknowledgement of what had already grown between them. From that night on, their romance unfolded like a secret melody, soft, hidden, but undeniably real. They shared brief moments in shadowed hallways, whispered conversations in the library, and walks through the garden when the staff had gone. They were careful, but the tenderness between them couldn't be disguised. Yet their love was not reckless. Daniel carried guilt for moving on after his wife's death, and Claire carried fear of judgment. But in each other, they found a kind of healing neither had expected. Daniel taught her that she was more than just an employee, that her kindness had value. Claire reminded him that love was not betrayal to the past, but a bridge to the future. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel invited Claire and Lily to a small art exhibit in town. For the first time they were outside the mansion together, blending in with the world. To others it looked like an employer and his staff, but to Claire, it felt like a glimpse of a life she never thought she could have. She and Daniel exchanged a smile across the gallery floor, quiet and secret, but filled with meaning. The truth of their relationship remained hidden within the walls of the Whitmore estate, but to them it didn't matter. What they shared wasn't scandalous or wrong. It was tender, honest, and deeply human. The maid's secret romance with her boss wasn't about power or status. It was about two lonely souls finding light in each other's precinct, daring to love when it seemed impossible. And though the world might never understand, within their hearts, it was real, and it was enough.